Hello, hello, happy Friday. How are you doing today? I hope you're gearing up for a great weekend. Before we get started, I have to show you my shirt. Let me know how you like it. Let me move this out of the way first. Things first. It says, feed me and tell me I'm pretty. What do you think about that? I made my boyfriend buy me this shirt because, you know, it's like my phrase, it's like my go-to phrase. Just like feed me and tell me I'm pretty and we're going to be happy, right? All right. So anyways, today we are going to be tasting some wine, and I'm going to tell you how to taste wine, take you through the techniques, as well as talk to you a little bit about pairing, because it's Friday and it is time to get down and have some fun. So as you tune in, say, hey, tell me where you're tuning in from. If you're sipping on anything yummy, let me know. What are you sipping on, all right? So let's get to it. Let's get through it. Hello, hello. How are you? All right, so I have 4 wines that I'm going to be tasting. They all have different styles, so it's going to be kind of fun to kind of talk about like the pairing aspects and all of that good stuff with the wine. So let me know, are you a sweet wine drinker? And let me like double check something, because I am not seeing my comments come through, and I want to be able to talk to you, friend. Like, I think it's super important to have like fun little conversations. So, all right, cool beans. All right, so let's get down to it. But first, I don't think I've introduced myself. Sorry about that, friends. For those who don't know who I am Tiara, aka T, your wine diva. And I help you find wines that you are going to love. I love taking that like intimidation and the guessing game out of what wine am I going to enjoy? What do I pair it with? All of that stuff. Hello, Cecilia. How are you? Love to make it just way more easeful and way more fun, because it's wine, it's alcohol, it should be a party, okay? So I like to take all the snobbery out of it and have a good time with a glass of wine. All right, so all of that good stuff. I definitely want to invite you, if you do enjoy wine, you want to have a non-snobby way to enjoy and learn about it and all that good stuff, come into my community, Wine Divas virtual tasting room. We hang out, we talk about wine, we share recipes, all good fun stuff up in there. So yeah, now let's get down to it. Wendy Sue, how are you, boo-boo? Hey, Ruth, how you doing, love bug? All right, so where are my sweet wine drinkers? Let me know. Drop sweet if you like sweeter wines, because we're going to start off with our orange muscat, all right? So similar grape to Moscato, similar flavor profile, but it's got a lot more citrus. So it's a different varietal. Orange muscat is its own varietal, but let's get it into the glass. That is not the right glass. We'll talk a little bit about glass sizes in a little bit here. So we're gonna pour a little bit in here. If you're doing like a tasting at home, try not to fill the whole glass. I mean, you are at home, so I would hope you're not driving anywhere. So you can do you, that is your business. But if you're trying to truly taste wine and get all the flavors and get all the good stuff, you wanna just keep it to like an ounce or 2 ounces, because too much wine, eventually it'll kind of like dilute your palate. And then, you know, if you've ever gone wine tasting and by like the 5th winery, you're like, I don't know, it's wine. If you're like that, so it's the same idea. Like, it all kind of just starts like muddling your mouth. So it's important to kind of just do small pours if you're going to do a little tasting, and then do a full glass of whatever it is that you love. Hi, Jackie. Hi, Katie. What's up, princess? She says she likes sweet. Yes, girl, sweet. All right, so we've got our muscat, and I want to kind of talk to you through what I like to call the 4 S's of wine. So this is something simple that you can remember if you're going wine tasting, you're doing a tasting at home, you want to impress your friends or something like that. So 4 S's of wine is just your methodology for tasting wine. Super simple. So you want to see your wine, take a look at it. If you have a piece of paper, you can look at like a white piece of paper so you can get the full scope of the color. If you hold it like this and then look right into the middle there, that's gonna be the proper color for your wine. And just holding it over something that is white, which is why they have white tablecloths in fancy restaurants, so you can check the color of your wine, your color and your clarity. So you see your wine, you swirl your wine, you can do it in your hand. One of the other good things about having less wine in the glass, and it makes it so much easier to do the like flick of the wrist swirl. If you do want to, like, if you're like nervous that wine's gonna go flying everywhere, because I've been there. I've totally sloshed wine all over my body. I've been working in the wine industry for 5 years. I've seen it all. I've done it all. It's okay. So you can just put it on your table, whatever in front of you, a solid state, and just swirl it like this, and it lowers the center of gravity, and you can swirl, you go crazy with it, and it still stays all up in the glass. And the reason you are swirling your wine, it's called volatilizing the esters is the technical term for it. But basically you're just opening your wine up. You're giving it some more oxygen so it allows the true flavors of the wine to showcase. Okay, what's up? This is nice, love it. I'm glad you're loving it. Yes, it's Friday, right? It's Friday night, Friday afternoon. It's happy hour. We're gonna have some fun. Yeah? All right, so you're swirling it, you see it, you swirl it, now you smell it. Take a nice big whiff, sniff it, swirl it, whatever you want to say. And this is really important because your sense of smell actually informs your palate, so your taste buds. So if you've ever been sick, let me know. Have you ever been sick and your nose is all stuffed up and then you try to eat something and you can't really taste it? It's the same idea. So when you smell your wine, you're informing your palate about what's to come, what's gonna come all up in your mouth. And that sounded inappropriate, sorry friends. Things happen. Anyways, so you smell it, and then of course you get to the fun part, which is sipping your wine. So if you know any wine loving friends that are not watching this with us, invite them to the party and like tag them and say, hey girl, it's time to party. Thank you, Angela. I made them myself actually. Yes. So this is very I notice floral notes. So like kind of flowery, honeysuckle if you can think of it, and there's like sweetness on the tip of the tongue. There's nice acidity. What acidity is, when you hear someone describe acidity in wine, that's when you take a sip and you tilt your head forward, and if you feel your mouth kind of salivate, that means there's acidity. So if there's a whole lot of it, that's like plus. If there's like not really much, then it's like minus, and you don't really need to get all into the technical terms. If you're just like enjoying the wine, enjoy the wine, right? So this is the Muscat. Very light, crisp, refreshing, sweeter wine, more citrusy flavored. So what is it gonna pair with? So thinking about what pairs really well with citrus notes, first thing that comes to my mind is fish and sushi, like things that you would sprinkle like lemon on top of, a salad, cheese. I mean, cheese is a default for wine anyway, but there's certain types of cheeses that do better with certain styles of wine. So like for this kind of wine, I would think of like something that's a little bit more mild, something that's a little creamy. I'm thinking brie, I'm thinking Havarti. All of my wines actually come with notes, so I don't really have to memorize this, so it makes my job so much easier. And if you're watching me and you're like, this seems like a really cool job and like a really cool business to have, I would love to talk to you about it, because I mean, you're basically just drinking wine with friends and having a good time making money, yeah? So Mozzarella Fontina Monterey Jack is what our winemaker suggests as far as pairings are concerned. I think this is like a perfect little porch pounder, poolside drinking wine, fun, all sorts of good stuff. It's classy things to know how this wine etiquette and learn. Yes, you're welcome. I'm glad that you were learning some wine etiquette and you feeling a little classy. I'm classy AF, friends, okay? That's what I like to say. All right, so orange muscat out of the way, on to the next wine. Next wine, we're gonna have a little party with some Chardonnay. And I know there are a lot of people out there that give Chardonnay a bad rep. And I gotta say that, like, when I first got into the wine industry, I was one of those people that was an ABC drinker. And what an ABC drinker means is like anything but Chardonnay. And you know what? There are so many different styles of Chardonnay out there. I encourage you, if you're someone that's like, I don't like Chardonnay, to at least give things a try, especially if you're in a tasting room, because you've already like paid to be there. You might as well just try it all. You might be surprised by some. There are some that are super oaky and that have that big buttery bomb kind of flavor. There are some that are like all stainless steel and they're very light and crisp and refreshing and like citrus and fruity. So give that Chardonnay a try. All right, now that I finished my Muscat, let's put the Chardonnay in the glass, shall we? So we've got a little Chardonnay, 100% Chardonnay from California. It's a nice, like, pale yellow in color. We're seeing it, we're swirling it. We're smelling it. Getting some pear, some apple, brown sugar. Hey, Sarah B, how you doing, boo? Now we taste it, and I'm getting like lemon, I'm getting a little vanilla, I'm getting a little bit of that butter, that malolactic fermentation. That's what gives it that buttery flavor. That's what happens when you put your Chardonnay in the barrels, right? And it's sitting in that oaky barrel during that fermentation process. That fermentation process is what kind of releases those buttery notes in your Chardonnay. Now, similar to the Muscat that we had earlier, the Chardonnay actually, so it still has those citrus notes. It's still light. It's still crisp. It's mostly stainless steel from what I'm tasting. So it's still very, very refreshing. So you want to pair like with like. That's one of the things I like to think about. So it kind of gets kind of crazy because you either want to do like with like. So if it's light in body, it's crisp and refreshing. Think light in body, like crisp and refreshing foods, right? You don't want your food to overpower your wine. You don't want your wine to overpower your food. But on the flip side, you can also do opposites. So I didn't mention this with the Muscat, but the Muscat is sweet, right? And something that's super sweet will do really well with something that's really spicy because it cancels each other out. If you have a spicier wine going with some spicier food, then your mouth is gonna be on fire, okay? And it typically doesn't like it, and it kind of gets like the tannins all cray-cray. So there's something to think about. So sweet and spicy do go together, but also in terms of like flavor profile and like the heaviness and the weightiness of your wine, like with like. And then if you're like totally like, I have no idea, where it grows, it goes is also a good thing to remember. So if you have a wine that's, let's say, an Italian Sangiovese, an Italian wine is gonna go great with Italian food across the board. So I hope that was a little helpful, little tipsy twos for your for your wine experience. This is lovely. I'm thinking creamy cheese, brie, buttery popcorn. When you're pulling out notes in your wine, ooh, creamy Alfredo, yes, that is exactly. If you're pulling out different notes in your wine, it's very likely it's gonna go well with whatever you're tasting in your wine. So like I said, I'm getting butter, so corn. I think this would go nice if you serve it a little bit above or under room temperature, like 55 degrees. So it's a little bit warmer than like coming right out of the refrigerator. I think it would go great with like your Thanksgiving dinner, okay? Your turkey, your mashed potatoes, and your like mac and cheese, just, yes. All that goodness. So on to the next wine and a new glass. So we're gonna talk a little bit about glasses. So stemware is actually pretty important when it comes to getting the full effect and the full flavors of your wine out. When you're drinking a white wine, a normal universal stem is fine. It's not a big deal if all of your glasses are the same size, you have what you have, that's totally fine. But to get the most out of your tasting experience, it's good to have the right size glasses, as well as having it actually be made out of crystal. I don't know what the science behind it is, but something about crystal really actually elevates and opens up your wine. So crystal and the right size bowl for your stemware is super important. So white wines don't really need as much oxygen and need much exposure, surface area exposure to oxygen. So that's where you can do like a smaller glass like this. As well as when you think of like a champagne flute, you actually want to protect your bubbles, and instead of having them fly away, you want your bubbly to stay bubbly. So something that has like a closed top like a champagne flute is good for champagne. And now something with a big bowl like this bistro stem here is great for red wine, because red wine does need a little bit more time to open up. It does need a little bit more oxygen. So I have poured with this aerator to give it more oxygen just in the pouring process. And so that helps open it up a little bit. But having a bigger bowl is also going to give it more surface area exposure to air and oxygen, so it opens up a little bit more. So you can swirl it. Oh man, this is a beautiful, beautiful color. I'm gonna double check my notes, make sure I've said all the fun things that I want to talk about. Yes, all right, cool. So we see it. This is beautiful, like garnet red color. If you are someone that likes rich, earthy, dark just like juicy red wines. This is a great wine. This is a single varietal Petit Verdot, which, fun fact, most of the time when you see Petit Verdot, it is actually sold like as like a blend. It's not usually used as a single varietal. So this is really fun to be able to have a Petit Verdot by itself. It has really like good aging potential. You can age it like 4 or 5 years. This one is from Lodi, California. 13.5% alcohol, so it's got a little kick to it. So we're seeing it, we're swirling it. Beautiful color. And now we're tasting it. So when we get to red wine, some people always talk about, they're like, oh, red wine gives me headaches, the tannins, whatever. I get it. So one thing I want to talk to you about is, what is tannins? Tannins are they are a chemical that comes from the skins and the stems of the grapes, that the darker your wine is, the more tannin it's typically going to have, because it's had more skin and more stem contact. That's where that color comes from. Because fun fact, rosé is actually red wine. So if you like rosé and it doesn't like make you sick, you like red wine. Because it's just a little bit of, it's just seeing a little bit less of that skin contact, and that's where the coloring comes from. So tannins are, the best way for me to describe it is like if you took a sock and like scrubbed it down your tongue. Like, it's very visual. Like, you can understand what I'm talking about. It's a very drying effect. That's what tannin is. So if you're drinking a wine and it's like making you want to keep drinking more, it's drying out your mouth, it's pretty much pretty tannic. And something to help with that is always eating some more food. So eating something with higher protein, that's why, and fat to it, is going to help cut those tannins. And that's why we talk about red wine and steak a lot of times. That's what you see a lot of times. But really, you can pair some red wines with fish. Salmon's great with red wines. What else? Cheese, of course. Things with a lot higher fat content do tend to go better with red wine. Also, a lot of Italian food, pasta sauce. I love a good red blend in some pizza. I actually talked about that in my Wine Divas tasting room group that is linked in the description of this video. So if you want to come hang out and talk about wine and have a good time, I totally invite you to do that with me. So let's get to this Petit Verdot. So I wouldn't say it's very tannic. It's got nice, easy, plush, rounded tannins. This has been open for a couple of days, so it's gotten a little bit more oxygen to it. I will tell you, when I opened it on Sunday, it was a little bit tight. It needed a little bit more air to it to open it up. So this is kind of fun. So this is something to think about. So like, it's kind of fun to do a little experiment with. Sometimes if you're tasting a red wine and it just kind of like makes you do that, and it's just not quite right, leave it in the glass for a little bit, open something else, and then come back and see what's going on in that glass, or put it in a decanter if you have one. It's super fun, super different ways to kind of like explore the world of wine, which I love. So if you love wine and like drinking wine, I do want to invite you to I'm looking to bring on 6 new people in the month of August to teach them how to talk about wine, how to have fun with wine, and how to make money with wine. So if that's you, let me know. You can say money in the comments, or just reach out to me directly. I would love that. I'm checking on my time to make sure that I'm not going over here, friends. And now let's move on to the last wine, all right? So the final wine is the Shiraz. Now, sad story, not really that sad. I totally finished this entire bottle. Sunday night when I opened it, we did a wine club tasting, which all of these wines are actually from our July wine club. And one of the things I like to do with my wine club members is we do a monthly tasting where we open all the bottles, we drink all the wines, we try them, we go through kind of all of the different tastings and the flavors and the pairings, as well as we kind of come up with a specific. Yes. Okay. Lyle says that she's down for some money. She wants to learn a little bit more about that biz side of things. Love it. So we do this little, just like a virtual party on Zoom. We drink wine, we have fun. We sometimes do a cooking class. I know we're going to do limoncello. We're going to make limoncello next month for August. We're also going to do a seafood boil in August, and we're going to do a porch pounders chicken wings and stuff. So we're just having a lot of fun drinking wine with our friends next month. So more information again in the group about that. But anyways, so Sunday during our virtual wine club tasting, I was like, this wine is delicious and I'm not sharing with my boyfriend. I gave him like a little pour and I was like, the rest of the bottle is mine. Okay, thanks, bye. And I finished the bottle by myself. And it's cool. One of the things I do love about the wine is that when you have high quality wine, you're really not like, I know like people talk about hangovers, blah, blah, blah. Really like wine hangover, not really a thing if you're drinking good quality stuff and you're not drinking like 8 bottles of wine. Like I probably shouldn't tell you this, but I go through like a bottle of wine like by myself probably on a weekly basis. Like it really, and when it's good quality stuff, you feel good. Eat food, drink water, be responsible, of course. But honestly, like if you're having good quality stuff and you're really not filling your body with toxins or added sugar, that's the main thing that really gives people hangovers, is when you're drinking something that has a lot of added sugar. So whether you're doing mixed drinks with a lot of soda, whether you're doing wines that have a lot of added sugar, you're doing, I don't know, beers with a bunch of added sugar. When you have wines, because sugar, yes, sugar is where alcohol comes from, but if you're just having the natural sugars from the grapes of the wine, and that's really all that's in the bottle, that's what's really all that's going to like go into your body, and you probably are going to be fine, okay? Especially if you're spanning it out through over some hours. You're not just like throwing it back like, rah. I do a lot of videos where I do that, but honestly, I'm not chugging the bottle down. I promise, that's not what I do. But yeah, so if you have any questions about wine, if you want to know a little bit more about our wine club, I'll definitely drop the links to our wine club. I'll drop the links to the business so you can take a look at that. And of course, I invite you to join me in the Wine Divas virtual tasting room so we can talk more about wine. We can have a good time, talk about pairings and all sorts of stuff. Let me double check that I've given you all the value I wanted to give you and taught you all the fun things. I think I did. So I hope you're having an awesome sauce Friday, and I will catch you next week, or I might catch you tomorrow if you are a part of my community. Have a great rest of your evening. Cheers.